Morning and welcome to our last video of the season. It's September 14th, 2011, and we're going to take you through our gardens today because we're closing the swimming pool, so we wanted to get this in. This is the lantana that I standardized from a 2-inch baby. It's got lots of red blooms. It's very, very thickly branched, and I'm really happy with it because typically they fall over and lose some branches, and then they're never quite round. I'll probably shape it up after I take it in the house so that it'll be really nice. I've been pinching it back a little bit to keep it nice and full. And now I'll show you my other plants. Thank you, John, for doing that aspect of the video. He's hard at work on his project, and we'll be looking at that in a minute. Now here's my hibiscus, and the hibiscus blooms on old wood. So it's very tricky because when you bring it into the house is the best time to shape it up, but at that point there's so many buds on it that you just can't bear to do it. And then in the spring it's really too late to shape it up. So my hibiscus right now are looking not too well shaped. Here's my Joseph's Coat Rose. If you remember, this has been struggling all season, and it's finally got 5 beautiful blooms on it, which are visible from the road, and they're quite pretty and bright. I'm going to keep trying to baby this so that it will be way healthier looking next season. There's the crepe myrtle that I bought to replace the crepe myrtle that we kind of almost killed when we brought it back from the farm, but I'll show you how that's doing. It might survive after all, I'm not sure. It's really looking pretty. There's Big Papa down there, the big huge lantana that's about 15 years old that we started from a baby. And there's my shorter lantana that I grew purposely a little shorter so that it would have its little foliage in a different height. And I'm working on shaping it up. I just repotted it because it wanted to grow sideways, and I straightened it up, and it's still not quite round. It's kind of lumpy on one side, but it's getting better. And here's the variegated leaf lantana that I started from a 2-inch baby this spring. I'm really happy that I didn't knock it over at all. So the branching is really even all the way around, and I've been pinching it back a lot, and I think that it will be a nice shaped plant as long as I don't lose a lot in the winter. Sometimes when you winter it over, you end up losing a couple branches that are kind of key. I pinched the top of it now, so the height will be established. It'll get about 12 inches taller than that or so, but once it's in a bigger pot, it'll be a nice height. You just wait and see. You can see we have a wheelbarrow here, and that's part of John's project. There's the daylilies that we bought at the Daylily Show with Gramps. Some of them doing well, expecting some nice blooms next season. Now you can see that we took the top off of the canopy. We did that before the storm, and you might notice that we've got those 2 pots with tall canna, and the reason for that is that since we're closing the pool today, we took the canna out of the beds that were by the pool. This one by the hot tub, and then that one across the pool. You can hear the sound of the pool cleaner splashing. And the reason we took the big canna out of there is because the nasty black plastic cover that we put over the pool will cover that bed too. And I'm going to try to winter over the cannas this year, although I wasn't successful at all last year, and I really love the cannas. But the problem is I bring my tropicals in before the first frost, and the cannas really enjoy living through a frost, so I leave them right by the back door until the first frost, and then I forget about them, so then they just stay there all winter until they're dead. But I'm going to try to bring these in this year. I'm going to try not to pan too much. I think I got someone motion sick the last video, so I'll try to be mindful of that. You can see the little mini petunias there, the white ones. They're still doing okay, but they were going gangbusters all summer and spring, and they were the only annuals to really produce as well as they did, and I was really pleased with them. But they are starting to poop out now. You can see they're pooping out. I haven't been paying much attention to them. I've got some nice blooms on the Rose of Sharon bush on the left, the purple that the boys gave me a few years ago. I brought that from the farm, and there's the nice butterfly bush with a beautiful monarch butterfly. Let's see if I can get in on that monarch butterfly. This was a volunteer from the farm I just brought, and I popped into the back of the bed, and I thought it would be fun for the butterflies and would just peek through the greenery a little bit and give us a little bit of nice tall purple. So I'm pleased with that. It's a very undemanding plant, and once I got the lawn people to quit weed whacking it down to nothing, it produced quite well. I have a chrysanthemum that's just budding out here. I pinched it back in early June because otherwise it blooms too early. So it will be blooming shortly. It's next to that pretty lantana. And you can see that lantana with the orange and pink flowers. That is how a lantana will grow naturally. And the trees that I make, which I'm going to pan over again, the tree right there with the orange flowers, that would be the same plant. It's just that by pinching the side branches as it's growing, I turn it into a tree. But that's how it would normally grow, right like that. Now this yucca plant did not bloom, not one single time, never, the whole season. So I was really disappointed with it, but because of the variegated and sharp, spiky leaves, I feel like it's still a nice addition to my garden. Oh my goodness, what do we have here? If you remember, I had a climbing rose that I was having fun growing horizontally across those bamboo poles, and I was disgusted with it because it did not bloom at all. And now I see that it's got a beautiful pink bloom and several buds, so I might have to rethink this. Not sure I love it where it is, but maybe if I beef up the fertilizer next spring, maybe it'll be worth keeping. You can see my knockout roses are knocking myself out now. In our last video, they weren't doing anything, and I was giving them grace because they needed a little rest, but now they're doing well. Some more daylilies down there from our sale. And a lot of greenery at the lower level here, not much of interest. A couple of the rhododendrons that we saw in the last videos actually survived. And then those hideous yellow plants that nobody likes are still doing well. And these petunias never did anything, so I'm not happy with them. To rethink that. I've got a kind of a white lantana back there growing in its natural shape, and right now we're looking forward to a few chrysanthemums. There's another one with some sedum, variegated leaf sedum, and this poor little bush, it's so pathetic, but I just felt like anything that could struggle and survive I was going to try to nurture. But see, it used to be a nice round bush, and it's just got one pitiful sight of green to it, but I'm going to try to keep it going because I feel sorry for it. There's my cute little pot. You can hardly see the pot, but the plants are growing well, and that white plant's another lantana growing in its natural shape. And not much here, a dahlia. The dahlia is still blooming, and then this sedum is blooming, but it's brown. It doesn't look too fabulous. This is a double, and you can see it's very misshapen too, because I never know when to shape these things up. So it's kind of heavy looking, but the flower's a double, and it's a hibiscus. And then I've got the mandevilla still blooming. And this hibiscus has always been somewhat of a poor relation in the world of my tropical plants, and since I started tripling the fertilizer, this is really taken off. It's bushy, it's green, it's got beautiful blooms on it, and typically it just looks like an afterthought, really. Now my variegated leaf liriope is finally blooming. It's got those purple spikes, and intermingling among the plants is the perennial geranium with round purple flowers. I like the contrast between the flower shapes, and I love purple, so I'm happy with that. And I have a lot of sedum in here that should be blooming soon. Oh, hi, sweetie. Oh, that's Mama. And I have some other sedum. The sedum up here I brought from the farm. That came from Dad, and it's been doing okay. And then I've got some little sedum. I really like this low-growing sedum that has the dark flowers. I think that's pretty. And oh, my dianthus has a bloom, so that's kind of fun. So that's about it for this area, and now I'm sure you'll be excited to see what John's been doing over here. There's another lantana first, and then I want to show you my variegated leaf brugmansia trees that I've been growing for a few years. I'm thinking that I'm going to try to be really careful this winter, because they also grow on, they also bloom on old wood, so if you kill off the branches in the winter, you don't get early blooms. There's John working hard on his project, which I'm very pleased with. He's doing a nice job. We're going to put a brick-like floor here under this porch deck and make it a shady sitting area. Here's another hideously shaped hibiscus, which has beautiful flowers, but it just doesn't shape nice. And then there's a passion. That vine's a passion plant, and it's got some really nice looking flowers to it. So I'm going to be trying to train that a little bit better when this becomes a nice area in the spring. You can see what he's doing here. He had to build a platform because of the elevation change between the area under the porch and the area under the steps. So he's building a little stone platform. He's going to top it with some flat stones, and then I'll put a pot of shade-loving plants there, or maybe if I had something else that was cute, I'd put that there in the spring. He also built this walkway, which came out very pretty, and he's still working on getting the gravel finished so that it looks natural. And we should be ready to go in the spring. Everything will look pretty. Because that was the one eyesore. Well, we had two eyesores, but he fixed that one eyesore over there with that wall, the Pool Mechanicals. But I'm going to give you a backup shot and try not to move the camera too much, because that was getting people seasick. Oh, there's the pool boy splashing around. I think that's about it. I appreciate you taking the time to view the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. We're closing the pool today. It's about a month early, but we don't use it too much after this point. It gets cold and rainy, and Cassie's busy at school with athletics and things, so we just decided that we would close it down today. Thank you, and we hope to see you in the spring.